Well, hello. Welcome to another lab. Today's lab is called Create and Manage Disks. And let's take a look here what I wrote up here. Little theory behind the lab today first. When an Azure machine is created, two disks are automatically attached to the virtual machine. That's correct. Two of those. Of course, you have the OS disk, and they can be sized up to 4 terabytes. And it's assigned drive letter C by default. I don't think nothing really surprising there except maybe the 4 terabytes limitation, but I think for most that wouldn't be much of a limitation. The OS disk should not host application or data. And the reason for that is the OS disk is optimized for OS performance and not for applications or data performance. For application and data, use a data disk. Temporary disk. Temporary disk uses a solid state drive that is located in the same Azure host as the VM. Temp disks are, based on the name, highly performant and may be used for operations such as temporary data processing. However, important point here. If the VM is moved to a new host, any data stored on the temporary disk is removed. The size of the temporary disk is determined by the VM size. And temporary disks are assigned a drive letter of D by default. One thing it mentions here, if you turn the machine off, you also lose the temporary disk. And a couple disk types. You got your standard disks, and you got your premium disks. And this lab is going to cover create and attach disks, prepare data disks, then verify the data disk. We're using a combination of PowerShell and the portal. So without anything else, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first step is to create a VM. We've done this a few times now via the portal and PowerShell. So I'm not going to type all the commands out again. But just like in the previous lab, we prompted for credentials. We're going to create the VM in the Speed RG resource group with the name of Speed V1. Location will be in the east. Our virtual network name, our subnet name, security group, give it a public IP address, and we're going to open up ports 80 and 443 and give it a credential. And we're not going to specify an image or anything like that. We're just going to let the defaults ride. So let's run this first. And we'll call it speed. And there we go. And we'll run this command. And it looks like it's kicking off. I'll go ahead and pause the video. Our script completed, and we have a VM with one disk. Let's go see that in the portal as well, just to get a different viewpoint. And there's our new resource group. You might have to hit refresh. And if we look, there's our VM, and we just have one disk. So what we want to do now is add a disk. Of course, we can do this via the portal, and we'll do both ways. So let's go back to PowerShell here, and let's go ahead and create a new disk. First thing we have to do is disk config equals new AZ disk config. And I'll say location. And I encourage everyone to type this out because in the exam you don't have to type PowerShell. You might have to drag and drop, but it still helps to understand what you're doing. It's passive if you just copy. Copy and paste. So write this stuff out in order to just watch. So we'll do East US. Create option. And we'll go empty. IntelliSense doesn't give us anything. PTY. And disk size gigabytes. 128 is a good size, I think. Then we have to give the commands to actually create it. So let's do that. Data disk. Is equal to new AZ disk. Resource group name, course speed RG, disk name, speed data. Let's call it speed. Let's just call it VM1 data disk. And disk is our disk config from above. Okay, so let's run our disk config. Let's run our data disk. So now we should have a new data disk, but it's not attached to VM yet. So let's look at our portal. And you might have to click refresh. And here is our data disk, but it is not associated with the VM yet. So that's going to be our next step. So first we have to do is call the VM that we want to add the disk to. Speed RG. And then the name of the VM. So that's excellent. Let's put that in memory. Now we'll attach it. Okay, we got the VM variable. So now let's say $VM is equal to add AZVM disk. And the VM is $VM. Name of our disk is VM1 data. And create option. We'll say attach. Manage disk ID. Data disk.id and lun1. Then one more update AZVM resource group name speed RG and of course which VM. Well, $VM. Alright, so let's run this. And let's run that. So now we're updating the VM. Go ahead and pause. And based on the script output, everything looks quite excellent. Let's look at our VM here. And we got the 2 disks. But are they with the VM? Alright, so now if we go to our VM and click on disks, we see we now have the VM1 data disk. So quite excellent. Okay, so now what we need to do is format the disk. So we'll do that by logging to the VM. Let's get the IP address. So, will our connection be successful? No. And does anyone know why? Well, let's look at our PowerShell script that we made. Okay. And what port does RDP use? If you say 3389, you are correct. And look at what ports we only opened up. So we should have had 3389 on there as well. So let's go ahead and fix that. We'll go to our network security group. Inbound. Click add. Change it over and we'll choose RDP. Automatically gives our port range. Automatically increments the priority for us. Not sure why it doesn't change this for you. I'll say OK. Let it add. Okay, now if we try remote desktop, I don't think that's the right IP address. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Might take a while to take effect. There we go. It's wrong password.